I'm Leon Taylor with McNary now. Today I'm here once again and for Mayor Ronnie Brooks. And certainly I try to do this as often as I can. Usually after the commissioner meeting, so he can kind of give us a detailed description of what actually happened at our meeting and where we are as a county. Thank you, Mayor, for allowing me the opportunity to come in once again.
Well, I appreciate it, Leon, and appreciate what you're doing, and I think the community is going to appreciate it. And I think, hopefully everybody already knows, that's your website, right here now, info.com. I think that everybody needs to have that opportunity to see exactly what goes on in our county government and understand it.
Okay, let me say this before I get to you. For those of you who probably have already seen the commissioner meeting for the 25th, it's already up online. And I've got to say this, I try not to, but I like to, the community needs to know what's going on. And I want to try to be as positive as I can about. I don't mind going out and videoing this. It's a day's work sometimes. But I hope we as a county can get together on some things. But Mayor Robert, tell us where are we at now for us to meeting with for us?
As of the Monday night meeting, Leon,
Yeah.
we did get the budget approved. Now, there was some amendments to it in regards to, there was an amendment in the budget regarding the library. And that was basically to transfer some funds that we and put in that account for the library for it to remain open. And I guess the main thing I want the public to understand that it was never intended to be closed permanently. And I think for some unfortunate reason that information got out there. We were just basically, the goal was to close the library, borrow the money that would be available in the fall. We would have some funds that from a retired debt, and we could actually use those funds to renovate the library. That was the original plan. But we transferred those funds that we were basically putting for the centralized accounting department into the Mechanical Library. So it will be fixed, and at this point, it's going to remain open. I think my biggest concern, when we did leave the meeting, we basically left it with an amendment. But
yeah, I want to give it, I don't know if everybody else got it. So from what you presented about the centralized accounting, that also was passed. Right. It was just with an amendment.
Exactly.
So
now what's left with that, of course, now the commissioners have that information, and I gave that to them the night of the meeting. I said for their information, actually we couldn't take any action for us to do that. Do you want me to explain a little bit about this? And I think a lot of people, if you don't know this, you can go to the state comptroller's website, and every county in the state of Tennessee's budget is on there, and findings that go with those. And they're free to look at them, it's public record. At the top of our audit, it says no improprieties or misappropriations of funds. However, there were findings that were based on procedural issues that need to be addressed.
Because now, and the reason I could ask this is because on social media, I read somewhere that last year's McNary County audit was the worst.
Well, they said it was worse than the state, but obviously that's not a fact. Some of that information is posted later.
Okay.
The findings are of course, Decatur County came in after us, actually with more findings than we had.
Okay.
It's just at different times that they release that information. Once they get the budgets, of course, all the comptroller office has to go through all those and compile the information and post it. So it does So there, it doesn't, it all come out the
But
same.
I just wanted to ask that so you
Yeah.
can give us, some give some information, guys. I mean, this is just information I run across, comments I hear, you
Right.
know, and I'm just asking you so you
But
can.
that's usually the case. But there were other throughout the state that had as bad a finding or some worse. than ours.
But you said with the audit of Mangan County that there was no input?
No, the
Okay.
funds were there.
Okay.
It's basically procedural issues that brought about the problem. And I think what people probably, and basically how our system is set up on what they call a local option budgeting law of 1993, which basically that provides, this option is provided for to basically compile all the county departments and that are going to be funded with appropriations from tax money, okay, or for taxes. And so that's what we operate under. So there's a budget is presented to the budget committee. The budget committee presents those requests from the departments, and they compile that budget to be voted upon and has to be in place. They want it by July 1st. So we usually try to get it approved by the end of the month. However, you can extend that to the end of the month, and you can go out as far as August submitting your budget if you can't get it resolved. But the way it works, all the county departments, like Sheriff's Department, County Court Clerk, Circuit Court Clerk, all the departments in the county submit we give them a form that's provided by the state that we issue to those departments of the requests for the upcoming year, budget year. And they fill those out and they turn them into us, that we compile that information. And then that's when we proceed. And it usually starts in February, and the budget committee starts meeting in April, and all the way to the budget to be
But let me ask, how long have you known about this centralized?
well, centralized accounting, they've been since 1981, basically.
Oh.
So the act is called the budgeting law of 1981. And what that is, it creates a centralized department for the county. And obviously state audit prefers that because you're going to be taking a lot of the, and that's one of the recommendations has been for, see, I've been in office since 2001, and another office not as mayor.
Okay.
But I've been in county government since 2001. And I know since then that's been a finding, and I'm sure it has been prior to that. That a lot of our
So
issues.
you've been aware of
Yes.
it, and you just, well, could I kind of, sometimes time of bringing things in, because I think some of the citizens, along with myself, that thought that, you know, we're closing the library, and going in another position at the same time.
Exactly.
That kind of gives some,
Well, now I can explain, okay.
yeah,
I can kind of go back into what this 1981 law or act and how it works.
Okay.
You institute a financial department, you're hiring basically a certified public accountant.
okay,
That's what, because, I mean, it is a business.
okay,
And a lot of, in most counties, you know, the description of the county mayor is the chief financial officer.
okay.
But county government and how that budget is handled, it takes expertise,
Yeah,
you know, and it's got more complicated over the years. So the comptroller's office wants some kind of CFO in every county. Someone that's a chief financial officer or some guy, aside from the mayor. And that's what they'd like to see, because that's what they're skilled at. You know, they're skilled to look at those budgets. They're skilled to know how much money, how you can use that money appropriately, and you know, and keep track of everybody's budgets and how it's been spent, and making sure that the funds don't go over in those different departments, that they're aware of, you know, their overages. We do send out reports to all our county officials as to where they stand in their budget periodically. But again, that's not like having somebody that's on that every day.
do it every day.
Right. And I think another thing that confused, that probably wasn't well explained to the public, that you're only hiring, it's only one position.
Okay.
And by statute, you know, it says this person is hired, they don't set the salary. They say it needs to be at least this much. So I guess the range is pretty much negotiable as to where, but the other positions that make up that department come from within the system. So you're doing lateral not promotions, but lateral switches from department to department. Say like, for example, and I think people don't understand that too. You know, one of our findings is always county mayor's office extended spent above what was budgeted for that department. But they got to remember that I pay all the bills out through my office, like salaries, payroll, insurance. See, we keep up with all that in this department. So if an office holder goes over their budget, we'll say like if the sheriff gets hit with a large overage for medical in his department, well, see, that's going to reflect this office. So a lot of times the findings, that's confusing because when they say expenditures exceeded the amount that was funded for the county mayor's office, that's the entire budget that comes under the general account or general fund of the county. So back to how this centralized accounting work, it would take the person who oversees my budget. I have a physical clerk, of course, she would be in this department. So there would be no increase in salary, basically be a transfer to this department, where salary would go to that department. School system, their salaries would be transferred to the finance department. So you'd have two people from the school system who would be in this department. Then there's an option of having the highway department to have a representative, someone in that transfer to that department. So actually all you're paying is just one salary, which is a certified public accountant, actually. And in most counties, and of course we've done some footwork and research, we visited different counties. And in one particular county, once it was instituted, which you have to adopt, the county commissioner have to agree to adopt that 1981 Act for us to proceed with this. Once that's done, then the county commission basically works off of a financial committee, which will be appointed by that commission, which exists the county mayor, the highway department, superintendent, and superintendent of schools, plus 4 county commissioners that are appointed to that position. And that financial committee will hire the director of the finance department. And they will and that person will speak directly to them. And so there's a lot of processes, once we adopt it, that we'll have to go through several phases, which takes up to 13 months. So it's not immediately instituted. Once the county commission adopts that act, then it's about 13 months before we'll be able to institute.
Well, get me straight on that. The motion that was on the floor that got amended, what was that motion for? Tell me. So
basically, what the commission, what they voted to do was to take the funds that were going to be allocated for that department. It's $78,000. Okay, I know that sounds like a lot of money, but most of our departments' budgets are about $200, $300, even up to $1 million. You know, that's not that large of a department operations. They wanted to take those funds, transfer it to the mechanical library. In other words, take that out of that particular position and put that money back in to basically keep that library open. Now, the only problem we're going to run into is that didn't leave, that operations of that library that's for operations of the library. That doesn't leave very much money to do improvements. So we're going to have to look at a different direction as far as funding that.
Okay.
But they wanted to use those funds to keep the library open. That's what they
I understand it, but it was hard for me to keep up with the cameras and listen at the same time.
Absolutely.
But when I understand it, even if it would have gotten
Funded.
yeah, I think you said that it would. This first part, it wouldn't have used but about
Right,
pay for that.
yeah, because basically what we would do, if we started, if they adopted it Monday night.
Okay.
Commission, obviously we couldn't do that because it's, time factor is going to be an issue. But if it's, we'll use that as an example. If they adopted it that evening, then we would have, then we would probably, it would take up 13 months to get this implemented. That means doing the search, coming up with the job description for the department, setting up the department. So that means that we probably wouldn't be out but just 6 months of that $78,000.
That's what I heard.
Right.
That's what I heard.
So it would basically, we would want this person in place. I'll just give you an example. The phase, I think the phase is out, there's 3 phases to implementation of this.
But just, and I'm not trying to keep talking.
No, no, no.
I want to get understanding.
Sure.
If I can get.
Well, I want to explain.
What was the motion? Was the motion, the original motion to adopt?
No, it never was.
Okay.
No,
So
see,
explain that.
okay, what I did, because we couldn't discuss that at that meeting, because it was a call meeting.
Okay.
Specifics, we had to stay with the specifics, the budget and the library, because that was what was on the agenda. I passed out the information for them because that was part of the budget, was about this centralized accounting. But it was for general information. See, we can't, actually, we couldn't have adopted it that night.
Okay.
We couldn't.
Okay. I just wanted to.
That doesn't mean that the county commission probably wouldn't entertain at another
Okay.
meeting, entertain adopting it. Okay, does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, basically it was just, some had the problem with funding any portion of that position
But now, that's what I.
because they were afraid it was going to be keeping closing the library. Making sense?
Yeah, and I understand, one of the commissioners said, he had problems
Sure.
with, closing the library and create another position, which, I mean, it makes a lot of sense to the average person, so that's why I wanted you to, but I would still say on your part, that it wasn't about, because the actual money wasn't gonna be actually,
No.
well, does
But
that mean?
there was a portion that would have had to be used because we'd have to pay them for.
But now that it went down a minute as it did,
Right, so it's not.
is that whole amount, is that available for the library?
Yes, it will be available for the library.
Okay.
But I want to make everybody understand that when they made that motion to transfer those funds,
Mm-hmm.
that was to operate the library. And it wasn't, that didn't involve the reconstruction of it, or the repairs.
Yeah, repairs. Now, where do we stand on that?
Well, and again, I think everyone understood, hopefully, that in August or September, so we're retiring the debt. So that was my, like I said earlier, that was the original plan, was to, because the Hatchet River Regional Library Association basically granted us a waiver for a year.
Okay.
That means we wouldn't have to, because the library falls under a maintenance of effort. That means that we can't take away funds from them.
Okay.
That doesn't mean we have to add every year, but we can't take anything away. So we have to maintain that effort, just like the schools. It's the same thing with the schools. We have a maintenance of effort with the school. They granted us just a year's waiver from those fees, okay? As long as we had the library repaired, because their concern was, and I don't know if the public realizes that, but there is mold in the building. And the idea was to go ahead and involve in that debt as you retire, that would actually give us a little bit more borrowing power because we would have money available to meet the payments on the notes. Now, does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense, but then there's also some other problems that's incurred, because I did that the insurance
Right, it did.
is, we're gonna have to find a new provider.
Yeah, due to the condition of the library, because obviously I filed for an insurance claim on the
Okay.
building,
Mhm.
because we were denied. basically all negligence on our part for not keeping it maintained. Now, this has been over.
Did this happen over, I mean, if it, cause it, I heard from some of the citizens, it seemed like it would be blaming the immediate administration.
No, it was not. We knew this was coming. I knew there was issues. I knew the issue with the mold as of last year. Obviously, we didn't have the funds to do anything. So we're going to have to wait for this next budget year to try to address those. No, there's been ongoing issues reported, and we've gone back with the director of the library. It dates them back to '03, issues with that building as far as water issues. Of course, they've been compounded over the last 4 or 5 years.
So, in other words, it's kind of been kicking the ball down the road.
It's
some
just
kind
been-
of, we're at the end of the road.
Exactly, it's just kind of moved on down, and that's one of those things, and it wasn't
Okay.
properly maintained.
Well, with mold, is it feasible to even use the library, the condition that it is?
Obviously, the state was concerned, obviously, about being mold in the building and being open to the public. But what they've done is basically handled it themselves. The library board is basically trying to keep the mold at bay. In other words, with bleach, trying to keep it from spreading any further than that area that it's in. But there's been a concern because the Hatchie River Group, original authority, that is what they stated in their letter to eradicate the mold issue, open it when that issue is resolved. So they would like to see it closed because it's just public being in the building, public safety that it is. And different people are allergic to different types of mold.
Yeah.
Some people it won't affect, then another person that breathes it for a period of time will
Yeah.
get sick. So that was their concern, that be taken care of. But now I think we can, hopefully we'll work to obviously get the building repaired. But, I mean, that's the plan, because that's what the commission wants to see it open. So it will remain open, but at some point, I'm sure when we start tearing out material and trying to repair it, it's going to be closed. So that's why we wanted to close it, in order to fix it and then reopen it. The plan was, once we borrowed the money and started getting everything going, then we would obviously close the library.
Right.
And I think the work will probably not take at maximum 2 months.
Right.
They said that they would wanted us to have it open by June 30th, or we would be in trouble with them. In other words, that would be affect our state and federal funds.
All right.
So my goal would have been to have it back open, obviously, January, February. And so as soon as it was fixed, we would reopen it.
Yeah.
They granted us till the 30th, but obviously the goal was to have it open as quickly as possible.
Okay.
It never was thought of as a permanent closure, and that got out to the public some way. I'll give you a good example of how that happens, and I think everybody in this has been through this at some point, either through your business or through your education or seminars that you go to. You tell person number one, you give them a statement, and it goes around the room, and by the time you get to the 50th or 60th person, it's not even close to what was there. So I think it's social media. It's very much similar to what I just described, and I think it just got out that they're closing the library for good for some reason, and that never was the plan. Never.
Well, now, let me kind of, I read out from last time I talked to the field that we had a crisis on hand.
Sure.
And, okay, the wheel tax failed, of course, I never, I remember, the county can't go out and get an extra job.
True.
With that, as a citizen, I try to look at things fair, and I try to look at them from both sides of the coin. We knew that something was going to happen in order to balance the budget.
Right.
And I mean, and I'm not taking defense of no side, but I know
Sure.
something had to be done, and the recommendation was from the budget coming down, was because there was already problems with the library,
Right.
to close it down temporarily.
Right. And the reason for that is because we could actually, landlord use some of those funds for the operations. Since we knew that there was going to be at some point, those monies would be freed up. Well, not freed up is not the term. Those monies would be available after that debt is retired.
Okay.
We knew that that was a good possibility. But those funds were going to be needed to basically help with balancing the budget. And that, it was not the sole basis of that decision. It was to, and I think a lot of people said, well, you put that on the back of, you're balancing your budget on the back of the closure of the library. Well, we knew that we would get the library, we'd have the funds available. And then by the end of next year, we could restore the funds back to where they should be.
Now, back to my very original
Okay.
thing that I got away from.
But now, that wasn't the only fund, if that's what you just had, that wasn't the only fund that was considered for the balance.
Oh, okay, okay.
Obviously,
That was just,
we had to find $40,000 from actually from solid waste. A lot of that, of course, there was an excise tax for that department that was used, and there was some part-time employee funds. It was around $10,000. So that, in conjunction with the library fund, was able to balance the budget. And there was other departments. Now, there was, and that's, I'm sorry that I can't mention those off, but it affected more than just those two departments.
okay, so, but now, back to my,
Okay.
well, I believe some citizens seem to be a little
Sure.
irritated or upset about, especially the library.
Sure.
Was that at the same meeting, you also presented the centralized and quite naturally, you know, it looked like, well, if we can close the library for 7
Probably 6 months.
yeah, and yet create another new position, and we broke, I mean, do you understand from a citizen?
Absolutely, absolutely, and I know that was, and that's how it was perceived, and that was not the intention, obviously. We were just trying to come out with a system that would.
But now,
And again,
back to being for you see, but you've been knowing about the central lab.
Sure.
And it's probably taxing on your office and on your, to do,
Right.
the young lady trying to do
Sure.
2 or 3 different.
Exactly.
Oh,
But in the long run, and I think that's what people just said as well, is just creating another position in county management fund. Actually, I don't know if I said this earlier, but the departments that have been, financial management departments that have been implemented in several counties, they've noticed that department winds up funding itself.
funding itself.
But by sheer watching over that budget and making sure there's no overexpenditures or any issues come up in those departments. And actually, that will be the responsibility of this person, once this is done, that they will know exactly what we need from year to year to operate this county government. See, right now, it's just, it's difficult to project. But when you've got somebody looking at that budget every day, you know, and I'm not by no means complaining at all, but there's other things that I'm responsible for other than budget in the county. I mean, that's what there's other things involved my time. So you know, and even if that's the reason this particular act was, the state legislature put in place.
And I think you said eventually, more than likely, it's gonna be a mandate.
Exactly.
More than likely, you said.
And I can't project it, it may be next year, it may be 5 years, it could be 20. But I noticed it's on the books of the state legislature, and it's their effort to get that to happen. So it did not go through, I think it was last, I better not try to go with dates. But I think it's, if you look at legislative updates, I think you can go to the state legislature and you probably can find it
Mhm.
online when that was presented to the state legislature subcommittee. So that's the whole, they're trying to get.
And I understand what you're trying to stay ahead.
Well, yeah, and well, I would much prefer us to institute it on our terms than say, and say, we do it this way, this way, this way. Now, we've got guidelines, obviously, to go by, but it might be a little different if it's mandated. So, now that's just my thinking.
And my thinking is that, you know, it's a great thing. But my thinking is probably some of the citizens said, well, you know, we would have probably have actually heard about it in the town meeting, but we weren't gonna talk about closing the library.
And actually, and I will, I take responsibility for that, because I feel like that, you know, I did start out my first year in office with town hall meetings. I did go to every small community, every county, I had it in the county. And did just a question and answer session with them. Participation level was low. I had one community, I had 25, and then I've been to a meeting where I had, and that was largest to zero. I was there and no one showed up. Of course, they were advertised in the paper and the list of those times. So I went through the advertisement of it. And I guess I thought, well, I'm open to answering any questions, but if people don't want to attend.
That brings to another issue that have been, I've heard it go a couple of meetings that the citizens don't have. Now, is there anything to provide a platform? I will say that sometimes I know with an agenda and with the time the commission together, that ain't really an appropriate time to deal with a lot of citizens.
Right.
But do you think it would be good to create a platform where citizens can voice?
And that's going back to what we're talking about this town hall meeting. I think it's, I agree with you, because people got concerns and they get frustrated. And
then they feel like their voices are not being heard.
And then you, and then we're in a meeting situation that kind of puts us in line to try to get county business done. But in the same sense, you are limiting the citizens an opportunity to. So the only place, to me, again, it goes back to what I just said. I take responsibility for that, because I think I shouldn't have stopped that. And I think that's what we're going to have to do.
And I think not only you should be there, but
everybody,
the commissioners should be there.
or representatives.
Yeah,
They all can't be there.
Yeah, because I understand that.
Yeah.
But I think, and if it's in there to help create
Right.
a platform like that we can,
And I think it would be very, and
I think that might relieve some tension and some,
Sure.
because people want to have a voice.
And I understand that.
But I will say, it seems like you maybe evading questions, but you can't answer a lot of questions. You have an agenda, you only get these 21 commissions together
One time.
once a month.
That's it.
And if you don't get the business at hand done, the county could be left in limbo on certain issues if that.
Exactly. Because a lot of things are time sensitive.
Yeah.
You've only got, like they'll say, well, this needs to be approved at your next county commission meeting, or this needs to be approved by this day. So we're kind of under guidelines or schedule to get things done for county government.
But I would like to, anything I could help to create a platform. Now, if the platform is created, the time is, now people don't come, it's off of you, and it's on the citizens.
So that's, like I said, that's why I take responsibility, because I feel like the citizens don't feel like they've been informed enough. Because we do try to run as much as we can in the paper, but I also understand people like.
Everybody don't read the paper. Everybody ain't got the internet. Everybody.
Exactly. So, and I think, I mean, it is, it's essential that everybody understands everything, and that's why we're to the position we are now. People just don't have the correct information, and then when that, by the time it gets through the channels, and it's just swelled up into something that wasn't ever meant to be, and if we had meetings within, it may be the best thing to do, instead of trying to hit every community, have a district.
Just one once
Every, at least, maybe quarterly.
Oh, quarterly, maybe once if let citizens come and voice recommendations to them. And then another thing is, a lot of people don't understand, I believe, when you elect commissioners for each district, I think each county should communicate with the commissioners, with their commissioner, the things that they and that's the way it's supposed to work.
Right, and again, that goes back to the commissioners have not been provided proper information in a lot of cases. So, and again, that goes back on me, obviously. This is all can be corrected. It's just a matter of working out a plan. And I've thought about this quite a bit, Leon, but if we do have these quarterly meetings, it would be like, where we can combine several communities, like guys.
I mean, we had the civic center, whatever, just a platform where citizens can come. And I think it would be advantageous for all elected officials to be there, because then you will know, and to me, that's the way at least communicate one with another.
Right.
And then if you do something, the citizens have opportunity to voice what they, Now, I understand that you can't do everything every citizen wants. Can't no government, but at the same time, you will be aware of the sentiment of the community.
Exactly.
So, I mean, that's what I would, and I'm not, I'm new at this. I ain't trying to be a journalist. I ain't trying to be, but it just as a citizen, though. I mean, that seems to be fair, and that's what I sense. That some frustration is that people feel they're not being, they're not being heard.
Right.
And that would, I think there would be and really. I would like to be instrumental in helping set up that type of platform.
And that would be good.
I wanted organized. I don't want just, one.
Well, and like at a meeting like that, people, that way you post, because I know several have asked to be put up a list before each county commission meeting for to speak. And I understand. I mean, I'm not, but again, time factors, like I said earlier, and trying to get business done, and it'd be a whole lot easier that way. I mean, when you come to the door for say we have one at Eastview, they just sign the list. We just go right down the list, and wants questions they want to ask, or concerns that they have. And then that way we'll have an opportunity to present anything that's going on in the county that is going to be an issue that they know about. And I've known this. I guess I got so frustrated that I didn't get people coming to ask questions. And that's part of it, and that's my fault. You don't give up on something, but I guess basically that's what I did. But now I see what kind of problem it's created.
And I hope that I understand as a citizen from this side, when you got the purpose really of an agenda is to get through the business that you need to get through.
Right.
And so it can be time consuming, and sometimes when you just allow citizen after citizen to get up at these commission meetings, you can spend an hour and a half, and they got no business.
Exactly.
No, so I understand from the administrative side, but I also understand
From the citizens.
from the citizen side. So, okay, but I just wanted to, that was an issue that I know it was an issue. That was mentioned, that have been mentioned a couple of times, and I want.
But I want citizens to understand though that I started out with that intention of doing something quarterly. And I, unfortunately, I gave up on it because of low attendance, but now, this probably would be the perfect time for it. Because we've got enough citizens out there that are obviously interested in what's going on and concerned.
Okay.
We may have better participation.
Okay, well,
And it could be, like I said, on a quarterly basis, that we could have some commissioners who would attend, especially from that district. And that's what I did the last time.
yeah, well, really, it should, the commissioners have to be involved in because it's their district.
Exactly, and that's what I did. Like when I went to Mickey, obviously, those commissioners from that district, those three commissioners were there. And so it all, that was my plan for that to happen, so.
Well, can I get to a little bit
Sure.
more touch?
Sure.
There was something that Susan brought up,
Okay.
and I would that, I think wanted you to, get rid of the whole bunch of it. Can you kind of,
Well, because those are appointed
Yeah.
positions, they are. And the reason the budget committee is, the way we're set up by this law, they are that actually oversee that, the preparation of that budget. And when they work closely together, there's a lot of, it's not just simply you get together and go down those lines, you have to make all these figures
yeah.
average out, and if you have to remove things, everything has to balance, everything has to work together. And usually when you keep a group together, when you've got multiple expertise, and of course, when I select committees, I look obviously for expertise in those committees. If somebody's got emergency management training, well, obviously you want them on that board. And in this case, you've got access to financial people.
How often is the budget selected? Is it selected annually or?
Now, the budget committee, yeah, it's annually, so we'll have a selection process, and I usually try to have it presented by the September meeting. And then the county commission votes on those commissions, so they accept it. But again, keeping that committee, those expertises together, we've had on the current budget committee, some of them have served several years, but the reason is because they have that financial background. You've got, and I'm not saying we don't have others, but usually in the finance, usually bankers have that financial background and how, of course, they have to maintain a budget in their departments or their banks. They also understand how the funding process is, and so that expertise is needed. But obviously, you can't have all bankers on the committee, so you try to. But again, too, that's something maybe citizens don't understand. See, since we have 7 districts in our county, and we've elected to have 3 per district commissioners, we have to have one from each district.
Which is fair.
Right, it is. So, first district, we have all the way through 7, we have one person from there. And I'm not saying that those positions may change, but the reason for not changing is because they have worked together for that many years. That connection and that understanding.
If you don't have to deal with them numbers, sometimes
Exactly.
it is a lot to deal
Exactly.
with. But from some citizens, they feel like, well, that's I don't personally believe that, I mean, when you do a job like this, you sit down and do the job, try to do the best of your good. I hope that's what each one.
Well, I can swear to the fact that, because I know, and I want to commend this budget committee, because they have basically, Leon, worked without any additional funding from year to year to year, and trying to make that budget balance.
That is the hard job. But now, at the same time, from what I gather, the citizens feel like it was a slap in the face by the budget committee with the wheel tax 3 times.
And I can tell you, and I know that for a fact, that was not well communicated. No, it wasn't. Again, it goes back, and I agree with every complaint and every issue that every person has expressed. No, I agree. We did not do a good job of showing, communicating exactly why we needed this, how, now we did, now I've heard a lot of comments that it never was specified as to what it was for. It was specified, but it was not explained.
And
Is that making sense?
Because when it comes down to like the library being closed, different departments being cut,
Right.
and I'm not, well, yeah, I guess I am. I try to look at it both sides.
Sure.
You said, all right, budget committee, work a miracle.
On that hand.
We you know,
Yeah.
we ain't get no more fun, but take these two fishes, 5 loaves,
That's a good
and feed the 5,000. And without cutting, and so that part I see, I understand from a budget side, and I also understand from a citizen side. It's a slap in the face that we can vote you down one time, and then the last time, the last time, you know, and this is a citizen. It almost seems like a slap in the face that if the commission had passed, that we wouldn't, the citizens wouldn't have had nothing to do. So I can see the frustration in the citizens.
Sure.
You understand?
Yeah. Again, and I think, again, it goes back to information. You know, I think I would guarantee the majority of people in the county hopefully understand that the county does have a financial problem. I mean, it does.
I can understand that.
And I think they do. But it goes back to, again, not well communicated to the public the reasons why. And what that wheel tax was actually done to always see. And I'm saying, I don't want that to be an extra tax. You know, I had several people that would say, now I'm getting off on a different subject. I'll get back to my main topic. But, you know, I've got several citizens that say, you know, that's going to be a burden. I had to fix anything. And I understand that. But it's one time. We figured out it was averaging $6 or less than $6 a day to fund that. Less than $6. I can't remember the exact amount. In pennies a day, I think it's $6 a month. So, but I think the issue was the fact that they thought that was just putting extra money into the county's.
That's
coffers.
one thing, and another thing was kind of like forced feeding.
Yeah.
You know,
And unfortunately, in a wheel tax, it's kind of, and I know and I'm not using this to justify a wheel tax,
Okay.
but and I want everybody to understand that. I mean, every community, every county is different, I understand. But the counties that have instituted a wheel tax, you know, it is for a need. It is for additional money. I mean, that do happen. And it varies on the prices of the need is. You know, if it's a need for Justice Center, well, that's what those monies can be applied for. We went from a different direction. We were looking at additional revenue that would not burden property tax owners.
Okay.
Now, that's the direction that we're going because, you know, we have, and I think, of course, I've heard different arguments on that side, but, you know, between 47 to 49% of our property tax is paid, that's our property tax is paid by that percentage. Everybody owns a vehicle and uses the county roads. So, and that's why that's why some of the commissioners felt strongly that we needed, this time, needed a increase on both of these. The wheel taxes would be getting those who possibly don't own property, and they would get the ones who, and I know that.
And just, you know, I think every citizen of Magnetic County wants to see our county do well and grow. And I think everybody in common sense realize it costs money to do. And all of us have a responsibility to try to help. If all of us carry the load, it ain't so strenuous on us. But now, I think there's a couple things. I know first, the amount, the way it was presented.
Yeah, I agree.
I think that had a lot to do, and I think that's not like that platform. Sometimes we might have a citizen out there that have great idea. Not that you can implement it, but you can gather it to
Sure.
as you know, and then we got to work together, you know, and I mean, I know it seems like I'm inserting those statements of question,
I agree with everything.
but I'm trying to come from a citizen's point of view, because I don't, it is good, and I'm not from here. Right now, I'm looking at things objectively. I'm looking at both sides of the issue. I'm not on the inside, you know, but I like to thank God and give you a little common sense to kind of look and see, try to be fair, to the best of my ability, with both sides. And when I see both sides, to be an instrument, some kind of way, through the media or me doing what I do, and try to bring both sides so we can, well, I can make a difference in my community.
And it's appreciated, I guarantee you.
So I'm not just crazy about cameras. I do it, but this is something that I'm more than just a cameraman. I'm concerned about our community.
Yeah, you're concerned citizens.
Yeah.
And that's why you do it. I know that. And I think people sometimes do, Leon, think that, you know, this is all about me, commissioners, me against.
Yeah.
Obviously, and I know this is, people have to think about government, and I understand that, I do myself, obviously. But my only intention, my only objective in this job is not any gain for me, but gain for where I live. I mean, I've said this before, and I don't know if everybody understands it. I want to see us move forward in a different direction than we've been going, and sometimes, unfortunately, that creates controversy sometimes. Because growth requires investment, and I hope people understand that the two go together. You want to see this, it's got a price tag, you know, and I think, here's a good example, and it's like economic development. You know, I hear this all the time. We got a great person in our economic development department. I mean, he's done, but I don't think people don't realize that that there's a price tag involved with that. He can go out here and promote. He is probably, I know at least 22 requests for information about properties that we have in the county, and there's not that many. And that's another thing people don't understand. We don't have that many properties. Right now, we've got 2 buildings that are owned by individuals in the county. It's owned buildings that are not, well, three. And they're owned by individual companies that we'd have to negotiate to lease with them. They'd have to go through the industrial development board. They'd have to get the property and lease it to this company. Then we'd have to have some form of incentive that would obviously require taxes being, give them a tax break for so many years, they produce so many jobs. And of course, in the county, basically dependent on property tax, so that's a tough one. So there's a lot of factors, and plus the competition that we have within our region alone. We got 21 counties in West Tennessee. Right. You think 95 total. We're competing against all the counties in the state of Tennessee. Unfortunately, Southwest Tennessee, we have to compete with Alabama, Mississippi, and And it's in the North Mississippi growth is unbelievable. I didn't mean to get off on a tangent, but my point I'm trying to make is, it's not one of these things you call them and they want to come.
Yeah.
You go to them and they're going to come to you. There's a process that takes months. You know, if we land a 300 employee company in McNairy County, that process may take 2 years.
Yeah.
And I know sometimes the public may not understand that it's a very extensive process. And the state, is trying to help West Tennessee out because we're the ones who are not developing that much industry. We're not recruiting that much. The growth is in Middle and East Tennessee. We've actually had the commissioner of economic development basically say, we're doing everything we can. I think they can do more. but they're doing everything they can to steer recruiting to West Tennessee. But when it's specifically a company comes in there, like Nissan, or Toyota, or where they're moving their corporate offices into the state of Tennessee, they specifically look and say, we want to be in the Nashville area, we want to be in the Knoxville area, we want to be in the Hamilton County, Chattanooga area. So they're specific as to where they want to be. And he said, we can't do anything about that. If that's what they request, we're going to have to try to find a place for them. It's just like Beretta. They worked on the Beretta plant in Gallatin up there. It took them 4 years to land that.
Yeah.
So it's not as easy as just running out there and getting the businesses.
Well, speaking of economic development again, and this is kind of all back to something we talked about in the first interview. Have you made any kind of headway with the hospital?
Okay, hospital, and I know people don't understand. There's a process with that too.
Yeah.
They say, well, they're going to give the hospital to the county. Let me back up. I need to clear this up because maybe it's too confused about that. We didn't own the hospital. CHS was a for-profit company that we sold it to, or actually, Regent Methodist sold it to. And of course, they're for profit. That's what they're here for. They're here to make money. And it became to the point where the enrollment was low, and they made that decision to just close it. And we couldn't control that. They called me on the phone and said, we need to meet with you. I had no idea because I've been informed all along, because I checked on a monthly basis, and Mayor Smith both, with the director, because these hospitals closing around us, we wanted to know if there's anything going on with the hospital. Are we in danger? No, we're good, fine. And then I get a phone call saying we need to meet with you. And I think it was late in April when they announced it. And that's the first time I found out about it. I did not have any privy information prior to that. And a lot of people think that I did. Me and Mayor Smith both. We did. We were both just as shocked as employees. So we basically found out at the same time. Well, probably the employees knew before we did. And that started that day. Me and Mayor Smith both trying to work out a plan. Well, it's not quite as easy as we thought it would be. Because after we started talking, because we immediately started talking to medical providers that are surrounding us. And out of the clear blue, we get this phone call, or I did, that wanted to meet with me and said they had a proposal that they wanted to share. This was like early midnight. And they basically wanted to give the hospital to us. Well, that had to go before the county commission. So in June, I got permission to negotiate with CHS for them gifting the hospital to us, because we don't know there may be conditions with that, and it may be something that the county doesn't get into. We may have wound up with a financial obligation that we did not know that we were going to have to do. So you just didn't take it. So at that point, the county commission gave me that authority to do that. Then attorneys started talking. And the last time I talked, it's been, I guess it was after that meeting, I even started calling attorneys, our attorney, Greg King, and the attorneys for the real estate portion of CHS's company, to start talking about an agreement. Of when he asked me, he says, no, not our attorney, but the representative of CHS asked me, he says, when do you want to close this? I said, yesterday. And he said, no, realistically. I said, well, I don't see, we've been sitting here since April, late April, early May. You know, we need to move this forward. I said, let's do this and think about a month. And of course, I didn't know what, I was just trying to move things on. But Craig Kennedy, our attorney, obviously, they were communicating. He called me back. He says, Mayor, he said, now you're talking about the pretty big process. He said, I can see this happening in less than 90 days. So I don't see us anything happening, and unfortunately, it's not happening as quick as we want to. We're still struggling with they have, now every interested entity that wanted to look at that hospital has to sign a confidentiality agreement with CHS. Obviously, all of them had a problem with the language that was in there. So here you go, you're talking, attorneys talking again. We finally got that worked out, and that's the only way that they're going to be able to get in to look at the hospital. Unless it's all squared away. So they haven't been able to get into the building. Now, this is not CHS just, it's just a process.
It's the process.
It's very frustrating for everybody. But once we get that information, then I contact CHS, and we have to provide names of every person that's going to walk in from that entity, hospital provider, everyone on that's going to be there to review or look in the building prior to their visit. So, and then they have to have their staff there, obviously, deals with the properties.
That would be the proper way to do it, because you don't want to just accept the bill and then.
No, it don't work that way. You don't look at, you look at this gift horse in the mouth, you know?
You kind of need to know where you,
Right.
what's going on.
But every provider, Leon, that we've talked to, and there's three, all three of them have great ideas what they can do for our community. Every one of them, I think, and I want to assure the citizens that we're doing the best, we're going to get the best medical attention care that we can get for them. The trends in health are changing drastically. You're not going to see as many inpatient facilities that's just going away.
Oh, yeah.
You know, because it's going to be acute. What we're looking at is acute care to sustain them, to give them the vital what's required to get them stable and transfer to another area.
Okay. Well, I just want you to kind of give a.
I wasn't trying to cut you off, but because I knew if I didn't explain it all, that might leave something out.
Well, I just thought, it's still an interest of folks, and we kind of let you know, at least let them know from your stuff that the ball is, or that they just been thrown in the file.
No, and I guess that's probably the most, I've dealt with some conversations with people, but I guess that's the most hurtful one for me, because I know, it concerns me, if I.
It concerns everybody.
Sure, if I had, well, I don't want to, because I've had actually people say, well, I don't care. Then I don't care if we don't have a hospital.
Well, I think it affects economic growth.
Absolutely.
And everything else. I mean, people that look coming into the area, they want to know, is there a hospital? Is there, what kind of service does they offer?
It's just like you're looking at right now. Is this serious enough that I'm 20 minutes away from the emergency, the closest one? Am I going to make it? Of course, we do have local facilities, obviously, the acute care clinics that we have here, and then plus prime care, that are making concessions to accommodate those issues. And I don't know if everybody realizes that, but now the statistic, again, let's go back, we take this with a grain of salt, but statistics, and I didn't realize this, show that most people who come after 12 o'clock in an ER, they're still not considered, most of those cases, by how they track all this, I don't know, are not that critical. I would think it would be, because I thought, I've always heard that if if you're having a heart problem, it's going to usually be in the mornings when your body's waking up, and that's when you get issues. They said that's not necessarily the case. Most of those cases are just like something that can be handled by just a local physician. And so those statistics.
Statistics, but for people's,
Exactly. If I wake up,
it's a certain degree of, just knowing we got.
That's right, because it's when you wake up and you're in pain,
Yeah.
and if it's in your chest, yes, and the comfort knowing that there's something right down the street from you that can take care of it.
Yeah. And so I just wanted you to kind of update you a little.
But I just wanted
we wouldn't think about just sitting here
Exactly.
and one doing, but the process. So the process
It's there.
It is, okay.
And if this doesn't work out, there's another. So, I mean, there's it's just a matter of just getting it worked out. And I just want to assure everybody that this is a very huge, this is the largest concern that I have right now. I mean, we got several out there, but that's the big.
So you said before you really close the deal, you gonna know what medical provider is gonna come in.
Well, and what will,
See, like the way the process is going, you want to know
yeah,
before you close the deal.
that we've got somebody coming in.
You gonna know who
And who's
got
gonna,
coming in. Oh,
and see, what we'll do, and of course, I haven't done, we're in process of doing that. We have an emergency service committee, which deals with our ambulance and emergency care, and all emergency issues in the county. We're gonna restructure that, well, in the process of restructuring, where we're gonna have local physicians, at least maybe one, possibly two, that will serve on that committee. When we start listening to these providers, they'll meet with that committee, because the problem we've had in the past is that it was communication and issues with the hospital and local physicians.
okay.
And then they weren't involved in the process, the local physicians, so that kind of presented a problem. And so I think we need, from the very beginning, have them involved and let them, the relationship, who comes in here, we want them to have a good relationship.
Definitely, yeah.
So we won't be in the shape.
Yeah. Well, thank you, see, anything else we need? I know I'm forgetting something, it's showing so much.
No, and I know there's a lot of questions. I do want to address one issue. I think one gentleman that was in the audience Monday about investments that the county makes and how much interest.
Okay.
And I want to make sure that the community understands. I mean, different banks hold different amounts of money. It's investments accounts.
Okay.
I think, the county, by law, we have to bid out to institutions when we take out a loan. So we've got several banks that we have loans and loan payments. So a lot of the things, I know one in particular to a certain bank here, because we just signed this note less than 2 years ago to pay it. So a lot of these are debt investments. I mean, it's not money that we're holding in these banks. It's monies that it's debt that we have. It could be in circuit. Here's a good example: circuit court clerks' offices. They're restitutions. When somebody is maybe an injury claim or what, well, that's paid to that court system, and that court system has to invest that. There may be a trust of some sort that when this child may have had a traumatic injury when they was young, and that money will be awarded. It could be $25,000 or $30,000 and be awarded to that victim. Well, they'll put it in a trust fund. So some of those monies that are in these banks that was referenced are those monies we're holding, and we can't hold interest. Yeah, they're going to pay interest or gain interest. That's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to invest that money in banks that their earnings, and when it's time for them to get their money, if they're 18 years old and they've got $40,000 coming to them, they're going to get the interest that's with them. So nobody gets anything but the victim. So a lot of those are not what's represented here. Now, they came from the trustee's office, but those investments are for different it's not county's, oh yeah, now the county's tax money is going to, and it should gain interest, and we should get the interest from it. I think that's just like business, any business, you know, and that's the trustee's responsibility to invest those funds. And the decision our banking decision, why we left a certain bank was the issue of fees. They were charging the county multiple fees, and so the trustee made that decision to switch banks, no one else. Of course, it came before the county commission, but the trustee really has that authority to put the money, county's money where he wants to put it.
Okay. And, well,
I mean, that's our-
you know, which I know that's the issue that was brought up, and I want you to address it. And I'm hopefully I'm gonna have a chance to interview with the gentleman that,
Sure.
you know, to talk to him myself and
Oh, sure,
and
and I understand.
and get their concerns, because at the end of the day, I'm hoping, that the county, the commissioners, the budget committees, the citizens can all come together and, you know, it shouldn't be stressful about conducting the business of this county. It should be, we ought to be, all doing it with joy, you know, and yeah, it ain't no one person, no one decision will satisfy everybody. You know, there's a lot of decisions that I'm not satisfied with. But I've learned to, I respect leadership and people that's doing the work. You know, they just, well, I have intolerance if you ain't doing it. You know, but when you put forth effort trying to do it, and you know, that's all you can ask of a person.
And I appreciate that, Leon, and I appreciate what you do.
Yeah.
There is one other thing I did want to address.
Okay.
Well, actually, two. There was one citizen made a comment about the salary increase for employees.
Okay, yeah.
See, our employees were going into 2 years without any increase in their salary. No cost of living. I think everybody thinks, well, automatically get a cost of living. That was no cost of living. Insurance, county insurance averages every year going up at least 10 to 12%, between 10 and 12%. Last year, I think we were fortunate to get 11%. I don't think we'll be that fortunate this time. But, you know, our concern, and I think people need to understand that our county employees the average salary per hour per employee is between $8 and $11. $11 is obviously an hour it goes to our officers, which is extremely low in comparison to other counties. We lose a lot of good officers due to the fact we don't pay them well. Then you've got all the deputies that work in the different departments in the county. My office, Chancery Court, Circuit Court, clerk, county court clerk. Most of those are $8 an hour. So I'll give you the best example I can give you. We just had an employee who retired after 33 years of employment with the county. That salary for that many years, she retired, was $26,000. So I want to make it clear to the public that we're not paying these exorbitant salaries to these people, even our guys who risk their life every day.
Yeah.
You know, we're not paying them adequately. And again, I want to reassure them that it's not by any intention of the commission or the budget committee. It's just, again, it goes back to funding. You know, we're not to the point where we can fund them the way they should be. And I know people, and I mean, that's hard to understand.
Well, I think, and this is where confusion comes in. With the sheet paper that the gentleman brought, where we got this much in this account, this much in this account, this much. Some people, it tried to appear that the county has a grand revenue of money. And I think you tried to explain it, that these monies are there, they're there for specific reasons, and they have to be there.
Right, and they can't interchange. I mean,
Yeah.
Public's conception that, well, you got a lot of money over here in the school system. Well, we'll just take some of it and put it in the county general fund.
Yeah.
You can't do that.
Well, I mean, you know, like I got investment, I know, one thing he asked us to put, let me tell you, we lose some interest on the CD and fix the library and, you know,
Yeah.
well, I mean, it might sound feeding somebody that just
Sure.
got a little lot.
But you don't know how those fees are tied into it, just like I said about trust funds.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, but it will appear like we got plenty of money on hand, and a lot of times that, and then people feel, well, just getting greedy, you know, and that's the way, and that's bad, if that communication gets out in the community.
Sure.
Because it makes them close their hands up to, and then as a result, in the long run, stuff start getting cut, and you know, things start getting cut. They really, if the right communication was out, people have a clear understanding of it, it may not be looked at. And again, back to what we started talking about, the way the commission, the budget committee present things.
Sure.
Nobody wants it crammed down our throat.
Communication, and that's the downfall, right?
And I don't believe that McNair County would be opposed to it with a reasonable
Sure.
wheel attack. And if they knew where it was going for. Matter of fact, you know, I heard some say, you know, that I think every McNair County want to see the county mayor do well.
Oh, there's no doubt in my mind. I don't believe it.
But in the way, from the atmosphere of the last commission meeting that we had, it's gonna get a mess if we keep going without becoming capital, because it's fatal point, and that's dangerous in any government, you know. And I hope, I would like to think McNair County that we're bigger than that.
Well, I do too. I do too.
Yeah, so, but Mayor, I thank you
Yes,
for,
sir.
I know, I'm boring coming up to talk to you, but
No.
I want to
No, I appreciate
try
it.
to provide to the community, and I want them to do the other side too, because I want,
Absolutely.
but hopefully that we can.
I think there was two other questions.
Go ahead.
That we didn't answer. One was about the, and I think I answered this Monday night. You know, in, say, in August, you know, our county fund will drop tremendously by the time we pay all of our bills and our insurance. Of course, it's paid out of this office. We always have borrowed against our debt service. You can't just take that debt service money out randomly. You can't. So we've always borrowed against it, usually about $500,000 to get us through payroll till taxes come in. It's called tax anticipation loan from ourselves. But we only have a year, so in June we have to have it paid off. And normally we try to, when we start collecting taxes, we try to pay it off. But by June, we have to pay that money back to our debt service. Comptroller requires that. Now, I want to make sure everybody understands that. And actually, me and the clerk and the trustee can sign off on that. Now, it has to be approved by the legislative committee.
Okay.
So in other words, the county commission has to approve. We have a resolution that we bring before the county commission, and it states that they are giving us permission to take out the tax anticipation loan, cover our expenses till the taxes come in. So I want to make sure everybody understood that. It's not just that me, I can run
And
it.
this is pretty much
Routine.
a routine procedure.
Yeah, with
But-
everybody.
Okay, that's my point. Information being together, in the danger of misinformation
Right.
getting out, and people start, just said hypothetically, that the commission, because of misinformation, denied it. What kind of shit would that county be?
Actually, we would go in the hole. In other words, we would not we would have to hold pay for
It
employees.
will, I mean, because from what you just told me, that this is the way you've been doing it
Right.
year after year, and that's a norm, but if that.
But it should be a norm.
Okay.
It should not be a norm. But now every county has that option to borrow against their,
Okay.
borrow for tax anticipation. Because obviously there's gonna be a dry period between August
Okay.
and February for taxes.
But I was trying to point out that misinformation can get in and
Sure.
cause something, and that would cause people like getting,
Right.
it would cause a lot
Right, and of course, our fund balance, of course, people pretty much, some of the citizens knew how much we already had in that fund balance. When the last time that they saw it, it was like 1.5 million. Well, that's good,
of. Mhm.
but now, come August, right now, our fund balance is under $500,000.
Right.
And by the time we pay what's coming up at the end of July, it will drop to, I would say, probably around 250. August, it could get dangerously low, it could get down to 110. Because we're still having to pay bills. I mean,
But it
But once we get that-
it will
it'll
replenish.
replenish for our shortages.
Okay, okay. I just, but
I think-
that was what I want you to deal with,
And I think the other one was, I'm not trying to rush, Leon, but there was, I know there was some other things we discussed that needed an answer. One citizen made a comment about, the sheriff's budget, and it is the largest budget that the county has. But public safety is critical, obviously. And I don't think everybody realizes that, by statute, the sheriff, talking about officers, I think somebody brought this up to me, said, we need more officers here, more. Statute-wise, Manatee County has 26,000, or over 26,000 residents. Statute says there has to be one per every 1,000. Of course, we have half of that. So by statute, we don't have what we have. So obviously, he's, can't supply the services a lot of people think we should be able to do. There's a lot of things that he can't anticipate, because we pay every medical bill. If somebody's incarcerated in that jail and they get sick, and if they break a leg, or if they're pregnant and they go into labor, the county is going to be responsible for that debt. The sheriff may not be able to budget for that. So all of a sudden, his budget in his, say he budgets $280-something thousand for medical. Well, golly, Bill, he could have an injury or something happen to an inmate, it could cost him $180,000. So it's hard to predict what's going to happen. And for general operation, the jail is governed by statutes and regulations.
Yeah.
State marshal comes in here, the U.S. Marshal comes in here, or division of it, and inspects that jail every year. They inspect everything from what those inmates sleep on, what type of clothes they wear in that jail, the condition, how clean that jail is, the food they're required to have so much.
Speaking of food, one of the sisters suggested that, that we did have no sense, which I totally, and I try not to be bad, but I got to insert my opinion, that would be inhumane, because he said about how they feed them for a little or nothing. I hope that their account is bigger and I did go online and look at the prison system that he suggested, and I mean, it's under investigation because of things like that. I hope we don't get that.
Because obviously, well, I was talking about regulations.
Yeah.
Obviously, and it's a fact. This particular sheriff in
Yeah.
that area doesn't care, doesn't. But it's cost the state.
I hope we are bigger than that in McNair County, and I should insert that in, but I got to, because I mean, that to me, I hope at least that we have humor that we're concerned about. Just because a person is incarcerated, they still have a right to eat.
They do, and it's by law, they have those rights.
Yeah.
And you have to feed them accordingly.
And this one thing that you can thank God for law, because some of us, and I just had to say, because that one, I go along with, I look at both sides. Yeah, I tell you what, y'all may need to hear the citizen.
Sure.
And then, but I look at that, sometimes you're a citizen, you make some suggestions that don't make, that to me seem don't even make sense.
Well, now, it's like food, you know, that we brought up, how much we spend on food.
Mm-hmm.
You know, an investment to even raise our own food would be, I mean, we'd have to invest in that. I mean, obviously, and you don't, you have to.
And you said it is brought in, I mean, it's bidded out.
We bid that food, and right now, per day, is $2.34 per day is what we spend on these meals. That's three meals a day.
And if you didn't give them no meal, how much of that would help resolve all of our budget problems? If we starve.
Right, exactly. That's 80, I think it's bid came in this year around 80.
So how much of a life change would that make for McNair County if we starve?
No, we'd go broke because we'd have to be paying on lawsuits.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying, you know, but I hope that, I just pray and hope that leadership, citizens in McNair County, in any county, I hope we're bigger than that.
I think we are.
I hope we are bigger.
I think we are. I think sometimes we get, again, it goes back to all this, and I know how misinformation happens. I mean, that's just part of life. I mean, it's going to happen.
Well, that's why I'm hoping to try to share, you know, but thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Mayor Brooks, I know I took up a lot of your time, but I'll cut some of it out, and you know.
And like I said, I will make time, because I think this is important.
Yeah, and I hopefully, my interpretation of this is that we have a nice little commission meeting. I'm able to get some positive results from you right at the Indianapolis meeting, get it up for people to see it. But when I see it going in the direction that it's going, I think it's necessary.
Absolutely.
For you to sit down, for you to face McNair County, let them see your side. And I'm gonna talk to the other side. I want them over, get them, you know, and have them, I want them, they got a voice too, you know. And hopefully we can come.
And there's a lot of things we discussed today that I think that we're going to do a better job.
Well, and there are a lot of
We've
things.
got to do it.
I want to say this too. There are a lot of things in budgeting, numbers, procedures, that it just takes too much time to explain in a meeting or in a public event. So if it's something simple, I'm sure that if it was a real concern, that you take time to try to explain it to them, just like, you know, if a citizen really want, you know, but I would say a lot of issues can't be brought up at commissioner meetings because, and I understand their side of wanting the board, I understand your side of having to get the agenda finished and getting the business conducted for the county. You only meet once a month. But I appreciate the time.
And any time, and I think sometimes that's a misconception too, that you know, any information that I share here, I mean, there's some things I have to keep confidential, particularly like the hospital, some of it I have to keep confidential. But anything in this office is public record, you know, and I was elected by these people, and I will be accessible for them. And all it requires is just a call, say, I would like to speak to you. I'm not going to, you know, that I feel that's
well, that platform, and I hope you will help me. I will try to help you.
Absolutely.
That we set up some kind of platform where the citizens can come and voice their concerns. And I think that'll be helpful for everybody involved.
Well, and to get them information that they do need to understand.
And then the real importance is for some commissioners and some officials be there to clarify misinformation.
Exactly.
That's the whole
Well,
purpose.
and I think people sometimes take, and I don't mean to keep jumping around and extending this time, Leon, but the county commissioners make the decisions for the county.
Yeah.
And their role is extremely important. And I think sometimes people don't realize that they control where we're going. Their decisions they make and how to appropriate those funds is important. And I think some people think, oh, they're just, they're just somebody.
No, they're very important.
It's extremely
Yeah.
important. And they're the same way. I feel every one of them will be very accessible to their constituents.
But when the sink, everybody will point to.
Oh, sure.
They
Hey,
come to us.
what that old adage, buck stops here.
Yeah. I'm hoping.
And I understand that.
Try to steer the right, but thank you, Mayor Brooks, for the time, and, I'm there, I think with McNary now, Braves, I guess, I really want to be fair and balanced, and I hope to talk to both sides of some issues, but you can tune in to McNary.com. I'm Leon Taylor. God bless.